Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm talking to you from Hawaii. I just managed to come on time. So today we are talking about this geopolitical approach to human rights, democracy, and big power competition. So let me start. There was this democracy summit conducted by USA very recently. 100 countries were invited, or rather, world leaders were invited. But when you look at the list, some of the countries, the human right record is really bad, but they were also invited, and there are democracies, not democracies, but they were also invited to participate in this summit. If you look at the world, 193 countries, so only 51.8%. So there is a clear division in the world now. 51.8% was invited to the summit, and the rest, like Sri Lanka, China, and many other countries, are not invited. Now, Sri Lanka is one of the oldest democracies in Asia. It's a functioning democracy, one of the oldest functioning democracies, and we have conducted free and fair elections certified by European monitors, and we have a functioning judiciary, and there is complete freedom of speech, freedom of press, everything is there. But still, we are not considered as a democracy. So what do we do now? This is actually raising a very big question as to who decide what is a democratic country and what is the real criteria for this selection is a problem. Now, when someone is deciding, oh, you are democratic, you are not, actually it is creating a division. In my opinion, it should be the people of that particular country should decide whether you are a democracy or not from outside. It should be the people. Now, this summit very clearly, unfortunately, has divided the world. What we need is to unify the world, to be one common humanity. But we are trying to divide by various other ways. I think we should not divide like this. And also democracy. I mean, democracy is, we all like democratic freedom. We like freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of, to express ourselves. We all like it. But then there cannot be one size fit all for the whole world. It is basically up to individual countries to select the system of governance which is befitting your own country. It is not one size fit all. It cannot happen that way. It is the people and the country and the government should decide what is right and what is wrong. And especially if you look at whole of Asia, not a single country had been developed through 100% democratic system. It has developed because there are other systems. So therefore, this democracy is the only answer. I don't think we can really agree on. Now, on the big power competition, we know that there is competition for power and influence. Power is, of course, there are three different types of powers: economic, military, and diplomatic. And all these three powers are used by major players in the country, major powers, to coerce, to influence, to pass their opinion on to the others. And maybe even through soft power, right? Yeah, like maybe giving aid, like giving a grant. These type of power and influence are there in the world. Now, my argument is world should be divided. There are common threats to the world, like pandemic, right? And like global warming and climate change, extreme weather events, poverty alleviation. These are common threats to the humanity. So we need to be really united in fighting that. We need to be focusing on common prosperity and not mutual destruction. We know that the geopolitical and geostrategic competition is actually destroying the world because it is creating division. We need inclusivity, not exclusive clubs. We need everyone to be inclusive. Then on the human rights, very quickly, by being born as human, we have rights, and we all like it. We like to live a free, exercise our freedom, to study, to live in a house, to have a family. We all like that. There cannot be anything away from human rights. But we need to respect human rights. To me, human right is like a flower. Right? First, you have to plant a seed, and then the tree has to grow. Tree has to give rise to branches, and the branches will give a flower. So human right is like a flower. But before growing the tree, if you say human rights, it won't work. So therefore, I think without development, we cannot really have human rights. And also, when you talk about human rights, there is another very important aspect. To me, right to life is more important than human rights. Right to life. I re-emphasize right to life. We know terrorism is destroying life. Sri Lanka experienced 30 years of a difficult war, and China, Xinjiang province, and other places experienced terrorism until about 2016. Then terrorism is really destroying the world. They are taking the lives away from the people. They are killing people arbitrarily, indiscriminate bombing. So therefore, I think right to life is the bounded duty of any legitimate government, any legitimate country. Because first, you must ensure that the people can live freely and people can live, and then only they can safeguard human rights, they can enjoy human rights. But then, unfortunately, in the world today, the victim of terrorism, after a while, become the bad guy, and the perpetrators of terrorism become the good guys. So this is actually a problem Sri Lanka is also experiencing in the United Nations Human Rights Commission, and we are very grateful China is standing by with us. We have to respect the international system. We have to respect the sovereignty, and we have to respect the non-interference in the domestic internal matters of another country. And we don't want any other mechanism outside the UN Charter. Right now, what we see is this mechanism, that mechanism. So these are not sanctioned by the UN Charter. The UN Charter respect sovereignty, non-interference. These are the things that we should uphold. We should not allow any other mechanism to take place. And we need to work together. We need to work as one humanity. We need to work as a group of countries in order to achieve a better life, development, and then human rights, then democratic values. All that will come. But first, we must get together and fight these immediate threats that I mentioned earlier are persisting in the world today. So with this, I terminate my talk, and thank you very much for inviting me to be with you. All the best.